Your indifference hurts her more than anger. Old Stoic wisdom. The greatest remedy for anger is stillness. Marcus Aurelius. She's learned to anticipate your reactions, whether it's anger, frustration, or harsh words that burn hot and fade quickly. But what happens when you don't give her any of that? No outbursts, no emotional firestorm, just calm detachment. That's when everything changes. It doesn't just surprise her, it unnerves her. When you stop playing the game of control and remove yourself from the drama entirely, you leave her with nothing to fight against. This is where true power lies. In this video, we explore why indifference, steeped in quiet composure, can have a far deeper impact than any burst of anger. Learn how adopting a stoic mindset can leave a mark that lingers longer than any words could. If this resonates with you, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss future insights that will transform your approach to life and relationships. Let's dive in. Number 1. The quiet that echoes. Indifference doesn't scream. It doesn't demand attention like an explosive argument or a slammed door. No, indifference is the kind of silence that stretches out like an endless void, one that needs no explanation, no permission, and certainly no audience. It's the quiet withdrawal that catches her off guard. You don't make a scene, you simply choose to step away, as though your energy is better spent elsewhere. And this is the moment that unsettles her the most. Anger, with all its noise, is easier to handle. She can push against it, argue back, and dismiss it as just a moment of heat. But indifference, there's no resistance, no fight. It's simply empty space, a void she never thought you would leave. That's where the discomfort truly lies. Imagine 2 men ending a relationship. One shouts, sends long texts, demands closure, hoping to resolve everything in an emotional explosion. She rolls her eyes, brushes it off, and moves on. Then there's the other man, silent, dignified, unshaken. He packs his things with calm, leaving with nothing but quiet resolve. Days later, she's still pondering what was going through his mind. This is the power of indifference. It plants a question in her thoughts, one that only grows over time. There's no dramatic exit, no emotional showdown to anchor her attention. She is left with herself, and that's often the hardest place to be. From the perspective of Old Stoic wisdom, this is the discipline of restraint. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, emphasized the importance of staying unmoved by things that don't align with virtue. This is the very essence of an iron mind, a mind that chooses stillness over chaos, peace over emotional release. In relationships, this means you don't trade your peace for a temporary emotional burst. You understand that not everything requires a response, and sometimes the greatest form of strength is simply choosing not to engage. You're not ignoring her to hurt her, you're choosing not to waste your energy on a futile emotional battle. You've learned the profound art of silence, and that silence speaks louder than any words ever could. But that quiet doesn't just signify absence, it speaks volumes about your own inner peace. It says you've reached a point where you no longer need to prove yourself, defend your worth, or chase external validation. Your self-worth is intact, independent of her approval or attention. This realization cuts deeper than the sting of a heated argument. It reflects the truth of the old Stoic principles, the power to remain unshaken by external events, to stay grounded and centered. In her, that realization breeds uncertainty and discomfort. She feels the weight of not having any influence over you anymore, and that's a feeling she never anticipated. As time passes, she may replay moments in her mind, trying to piece together what she missed. She may wonder if there's a way to bring you back, but by then, your focus has already shifted to more meaningful pursuits. The quiet that echoes isn't a loud absence. It's the echo of your calm, your dignity, and your strength. It's not the silence of a slammed door, but the quiet of a door left open, one you choose not to walk through again. That's the profound power of indifference, wrapped in the wisdom of an iron mind. Number 2, when she can't predict you. There was once a time when she could read you like a book. She knew which words would make you snap, which actions would send you chasing after her, and which silences were just a temporary pause before you came running back. You were predictable, your emotions laid out in clear, readable chapters. And, whether you liked it or not, she used that map of your emotional world to navigate every moment of tension. But here's the thing. Something's shifted. You've taken that map away. Now, your calm isn't the quiet before the storm. It's the new weather entirely, still, unshakable, and completely unpredictable. And this, my friend, unsettles her more than anger ever could. Anger was a predictable storm. She knew how to handle it. She could twist it, use it to guilt-trip you, frame herself as the victim, or simply wait for you to cool off. But indifference, a calm that doesn't crack under provocation, is dangerous. It leaves her powerless, scrambling in a world where she no longer controls the game. You are not a puppet. Picture this. In the past, if she threw a jab, you'd lash out, defending yourself. If she pulled away, you'd rush to close the gap, chasing her until the air cleared. If she tested your patience, you'd bend over backward to prove your loyalty. But now you stand still. She pushes, and you don't budge. She tries to bait you, and you don't bite. Your reactions, once on her command, are no longer predictable. Her old script has been burned. She's ad-libbing in a play she no longer directs. This is when her frustration turns inward. It's not because you're punishing her. You're not playing some cruel game. It's because she's losing control. She can no longer predict your emotional state. You've removed her power to manipulate your reactions. This is the path of wisdom that the Stoic rules urge us to follow. Practical Stoicism teaches us to control what we can, our own thoughts, our own peace. Everything else is beyond us. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's exactly what you're doing now. You're not just managing your temper, you're mastering your emotional independence. Embrace unpredictability as freedom. Imagine the scene now. She tests you, and you remain unflinching. She prods, and you don't react. It's like the tide no longer follows the moon's command. You've shifted from a man who can be emotionally manipulated into one who decides when and how he engages. This unpredictability, grounded in your own stoic strength, becomes your most powerful weapon. It's not about acting mysteriously or becoming emotionally distant. It's about refusing to dance to a tune you didn't choose. And that's something she can't control. You're no longer the puppet on the strings. You're the one holding the ropes. That absence of predictability isn't chaos. It's freedom. The Stoic paths of wisdom show us that true strength lies in mastering ourselves, not in moulding the world around us to our whims, but in shaping our own response to it. You're not just controlling your emotions, you're exercising emotional sovereignty. Your peace is yours alone, and it is not up for negotiation. The game has changed. When you stop giving the reactions she expects, it forces her to respect you. She may never admit it, but deep down, she knows you've changed the rules. And that's the beauty of this shift in power dynamics. Your calm doesn't just protect your peace, it completely changes the game. Have you ever noticed how people's behavior shifts when they no longer know what to expect from you? How much more serious they become when they realize they can't push your buttons anymore? That's the power of unpredictability. It's the strength that comes from a deep well of self-control. And it's the ultimate form of emotional mastery, the very thing practical Stoicism is all about. So don't just take it as a challenge. Take it as your new reality. When she can no longer predict you, it's not just her frustration that builds, it's your inner strength that solidifies. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are simply, profoundly, and predictably at peace with yourself. That's the mark of true power. If you find this valuable, comment below and share it with someone who could benefit. Don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom. Comment to remember I control my peace, and no one else does. This statement aligns with the content of emotional sovereignty and taking back control of your reactions. Let's discuss in the comments how this principle applies to your life. Number 3, the mirror she avoids. Picture a pond on a calm morning. No ripples, no disturbances, just a perfect reflection of whatever leans over it. That's what happens when you stop reacting. You become still. In that stillness, she is forced to see herself clearly, something she never anticipated and certainly doesn't welcome. Before, your emotions blurred the picture, your anger, frustration, defensiveness, or attempts to explain. These were all distractions that gave her something to focus on, other than her own actions. Your reactions provided a shield, something to hide behind. But when you cease to react, when you stop being an emotional sponge, that shield disappears. She can't blame your tone, your words, or your mistakes. The mirror is now unclouded, and the only thing she sees is her own reflection. The conversation becomes one-sided, and silence has a way of amplifying uncomfortable truths. This isn't a tactic. It's not revenge. It's a choice rooted in self-respect. You've made the decision that your peace matters more than winning an argument. This is where Stoic philosophy offers profound guidance. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By choosing not to react, you're not avoiding reality. You're taking control of your response to it. You've fortified your inner citadel, and no chaos is allowed inside." What rattles her the most is that she can no longer control the mirror. When you were reactive, she could shift the image. But now, the reflection is hers to face, raw and unfiltered. If her actions were selfish, manipulative, or careless, there's no longer anyone to blame but herself. People avoid mirrors when they don't like what they see. She may try to look away, distract herself, or find another reflection to stand in, but deep down, she knows the truth. Over time, she might even begin to understand that your silence wasn't cold. It was clarity. You weren't punishing her. You were protecting your peace. And maybe, just maybe, she'll come to realize that when a man stops absorbing the storm, he forces the storm to face itself. He forces the storm to see itself for what it truly is. That's the mirror she avoids. And that's the truth she can't unsee. In the hustle of modern life, men often find themselves at the mercy of emotional turmoil, reacting instead of controlling their response. But true strength lies in stillness. Stoicism teaches us that the strongest man is not one who reacts, but one who remains unshaken. Epictetus's wisdom calls us to this principle, to win through restraint, to master life by not letting it master us. When you stop reacting, you win. When you remain calm, you win. And when you protect your peace, you win. Stop absorbing the chaos. Take control. Become the master of your emotions and allow the world to see itself. That's how you win. Number 4. No more feeding the fire. Every fire needs fuel, oxygen, wood, something to keep it blazing. Arguments work the same way. They feed on your reactions, your need to explain, your impulse to defend yourself. As long as you keep adding emotional logs to the flames, they'll keep raging. But the moment you stop, when you withhold your energy, when you refuse to engage, the fire begins to die out, no matter how intensely it once burned. She's used to the cycle. A small spark of disagreement quickly escalates into a heated exchange. Emotions rise, voices grow louder, and even if things end badly, there's a certain energy to it. That energy can be addictive because it proves she can still reach you, still rattle you. But when you stop reacting, when her provocations are met with nothing but a calm silence, the dynamic shifts completely. No fuel, no fire. The smoke lingers for a while, but it eventually fades, leaving nothing but stillness. This is not about punishing her, nor is it some kind of cold, controlling game. It's about recognizing which battles are worth your energy and which ones simply drain you without resolution. Epictetus, a master of Old Stoic wisdom, said it best. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. By choosing not to engage, you're not just avoiding the fight. You're reclaiming control over your emotions. You're making a deliberate choice. My peace is more valuable than this argument? Picture 2 scenarios. In the first, she launches an accusation, and you dive right in, defending yourself, justifying every word, raising your voice as the frustration piles up. Hours later, you're drained, and nothing has changed. In the second, she throws the same accusation, but you respond with calm, maybe even just a simple, "I'm not discussing this right now," and walk away. There's no fire to match, no fuel for her to feed on. The energy vanishes before it can consume you. This lack of fuel offers a powerful lesson. Not every spark deserves your attention. Some fires burn bright but fast, leaving only ash behind. A man who lives by Stoic principles knows that it's smarter to step back before the flames get out of control. He understands that conserving his strength for the battles that truly matter is the wiser choice. Here's the hidden power when you stop feeding the fire. You stop validating the chaos. Without the reaction she expects, the pattern starts to break. She's left standing in the silence, realizing that the only energy left in the room is hers. That's when the truth starts to dawn on her. Your indifference isn't coldness, it's control. Control, once regained, is something you never surrender again. With an iron mind, you begin to see that the real strength lies not in reacting to every spark, but in mastering your response. You've embraced the core of Stoic wisdom that peace of mind, your own mental clarity, is more valuable than any argument. And once you hold that peace, you never let it go. Number 5, a shift in the balance. There was once a time when the universe of your world revolved around hers. You were the constant, the unwavering presence in her life. Your texts were frequent, your calls a reassuring comfort. Every move you made, every decision you took, had her in mind. She didn't have to question where your attention lay. It was always there, focused squarely on her. But something has changed. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, you've started redirecting your time, your energy, your attention. You found something else demanding your focus, whether it's work, your personal growth, friends, or maybe a new purpose that's calling you. And that subtle shift, it changes everything. At first, she might not notice. Maybe she assumes you'll text later, call tomorrow, or make plans for the weekend. But as days slip by, she starts to feel it. The silence where your words used to be. That quiet isn't empty, though. It's filled with everything else. You're now prioritizing your growth, your path, your purpose. It's a quiet that speaks louder than any argument ever could. Now, anger, that fleeting emotional flare, can be brushed aside. A disagreement can be rationalized away with a few heartfelt words or a simple gesture. But this change, it's different. It's not temporary. It's a shift of focus that's permanent, and it speaks volumes. This is where the principles of Stoic rules come into play. A Stoic man, grounded in his self-discipline and purpose, knows that his primary responsibility is to himself, not to others' whims. You've redirected your energy away from seeking validation or approval and invested it in self-mastery. You are no longer at the mercy of another's expectations. You are focused on what you can control, as Marcus Aurelius so wisely advocated. You're not ignoring her to hurt her. Instead, you're setting boundaries that safeguard your growth. You're telling her, and most importantly, you're telling yourself that you are worthy of your own attention. You refuse to forsake your personal development for the sake of keeping someone else comfortable. And that's the essence of practical Stoicism, detaching from the external distractions and focusing inward, cultivating strength and peace from within. This shift in energy forces a re-evaluation on her part. She was accustomed to being at the center of your world, to being the focal point of your every action. But now, you've redefined the center of your universe. You're no longer orbiting her, you're orbiting your own purpose, your own growth. And whether she admits it or not, she feels the absence of that spotlight. It's unsettling because it's a shift in power. You're no longer defined by your role in her life, and that loss, whether she admits it or not, stings. This is the path of wisdom, the paths of wisdom that any man who seeks balance must walk. To center your life around another person, no matter how much you love them, is to risk losing yourself. To focus solely on someone else's needs is to abandon your own in the process. And that abandonment of self, the loss of focus, becomes louder and more painful than any argument could ever be. Ultimately, this isn't about trying to make her miss you, nor is it about playing games. It's about reclaiming the focus that was once given away too freely. It's about finding balance again, but not just for her, For you, a man anchored in his own purpose, one who walks the path of wisdom, is infinitely more powerful than one who spends his life orbiting someone else's. You've restored the balance, and in doing so, you've reclaimed your strength. That is the power of focusing on what you can control. It is the strength of practical stoicism, of finding peace in your own purpose, and no one, not even her, can take that away from you. You are the master of your own universe once again. And if you find today's content very interesting, please give me a word of encouragement by commenting "very interesting" in the comments section. That is a huge motivation for us. Thank you. Number 6. Calm as a challenge. In life, some individuals thrive on emotional chaos. It's their domain, where they feel most powerful. If they can provoke you, pull you into a confrontation, get you to lose control, they win. Not because the argument itself matters, but because they have successfully unbalanced you. Yet, the true victory lies not in the battle, but in remaining unaffected. When you refuse to rise to their provocations, when you stand your ground with unwavering calm, you strip them of their power. This is where the teachings of Stoicism, particularly those of Epictetus, can serve as your guiding principle. A Stoic warrior doesn't remain unshaken because life is free of storms. He remains unshaken because he has mastered the art of controlling his inner state, refusing to let external forces define his emotional response. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your calm isn't an absence of feeling. It's a demonstration of your mastery over it. It's a declaration that your emotions are yours alone. Initially, she may test your resolve. She may throw sharp words, passive-aggressive jabs, or use silence to provoke you. She wants to see if she can rattle you, if she can draw you back into her emotional game. But when you stay composed, when you don't flinch or retaliate, you remove her ability to control the situation. Your calm becomes the most powerful response. It's not weakness, it's strength, it's discipline, it's the foundation upon which you build your peace. Over time, she will start to realize this. Your unshakable composure won't make you invisible, it will make you unforgettable. While shouting matches are easily dismissed, a man who remains unbothered in the face of chaos is an enigma. It forces her to confront a truth she no longer has control over you. And as this truth sinks in, she may come to understand that your calm isn't a rejection of her, but a boundary you've set for yourself. You've chosen peace over drama, clarity over chaos, self-mastery over impulsivity. In doing so, you've become a force that cannot be easily shaken. The challenge is no longer about what she can throw your way. It's about what she can no longer provoke. The question she will wrestle with, long after the conflict has ended, is simple. Why can't I shake him? The answer: you've built a fortress within yourself, grounded in Stoic wisdom, and no one gets to breach it without your permission. You win because you have mastered yourself, not because you engaged in the struggle. Remember, calm is the weapon of the Stoic. As Epictetus teaches, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Take control. Be the calm in the storm. Number 7. Silence that demands respect. Silence often gets a bad rap. People who measure strength by volume might see silence as weakness or surrender. But in reality, your silence isn't a retreat. It's a deliberate decision. It's not about hiding. It's about choosing not to speak when words lose their meaning. You've made a conscious choice to save your voice for the moments that truly matter. To some, it may seem like you're retreating. But you know the truth. Silence demands far more respect than 1,000 arguments ever could. There's power in silence, and it isn't about avoidance. It's about mastery. When she's used to your constant reassurance, your explanations, your defense when she doubts you, that silence you've chosen to give her will be a jarring contrast. It makes her confront a truth she might not want to face. She no longer has the privilege of your words. It's a subtle message, but one that's profoundly impactful. No spoken argument could carry the same weight as your quiet resolve. The old Stoic wisdom teaches us that not every situation is worth our energy, and not everyone deserves access to our thoughts. The Stoic man knows that his worth isn't demonstrated by what he says, but by how he lives, the boundaries he sets, and the iron mind that guides his every decision. When you go silent, you're saying, I know my value, and I won't waste it on someone who doesn't recognize it, and that's where respect comes in. This isn't a game of cat and mouse, and you're not playing hard to get. You've simply decided that your peace and your presence carry more weight than any argument could ever hope to. There's no need to prove anything. Your actions and your silence do all the talking. Now, imagine a scenario you walk into a room where someone you once bickered with is sitting. They don't glare, they don't fidget, and they don't offer an explanation. They simply sit there, calm, composed, and unbothered. That kind of energy is magnetic, and it demands respect. It doesn't ask for it. It commands it without even trying. You see, silence isn't about playing games or making someone chase you. It's about creating space for reflection. And reflection often brings discomfort. She might start wondering when she lost the version of you who would fight for her attention. The silence makes her realize that you're still there, but you're no longer willing to beg for validation. You've chosen your peace over the drama, and that's a choice few can understand. In time, she'll come to see that words can be argued with, but silence is impenetrable. It's a reminder that you are no longer proving anything to anyone. Your silence speaks louder than any verbal declaration of your worth. In the end, your silence is far more powerful than any argument you could have engaged in. You don't need to scream your worth, you live it. The Stoic principles teach us that we don't demand respect. We command it through our actions and our values. So, take a moment and think about how silence plays a role in your life. Every time you choose to remain quiet, you're making a decision to protect your energy, your clarity, and your dignity. You're not withdrawing to manipulate. You're standing firm in the understanding that your worth is so much greater than the need to defend it. Sometimes, this decision speaks louder than anything you could ever say. The iron mind of the Stoic man doesn't need to prove himself. He simply lives in a way that demands respect. And when she realizes that, when she understands the loudness of your silence, she'll know exactly what it means to lose it. My dignity lives in silence. Number 8. The weight of losing your attention. Attention. It's not just glances or casual text messages. It's far more valuable than that. It's a currency, and one of the rarest kinds. When you give someone your attention, you're handing them something irreplaceable. Your time, your energy, your focus. These are things you can't reclaim. Seneca, that wise old Stoic, understood this truth deeply when he said that our time is ours alone, and wasting it is the greatest loss we can suffer. Once gone, it's lost forever. For a time, she may have been the primary recipient of that precious currency. She relied on it, leaned on it, maybe even took it for granted, never fully realizing its immense worth. But when it starts to slip away, when your attention fades, that absence hits her harder than any argument could. She might brush it off at first. She'll tell herself, "You're just busy, distracted." But as the days pass, she begins to feel the shift. The good morning texts, the little check-ins throughout the day, the shared moments of laughter over trivial things, they all disappear. And what fills that space isn't anger or resentment. No, it's emptiness. You see, it's not the messages themselves that she misses. It's what they represented. The feeling that she mattered enough for you to pause everything else and devote your focus to her. Your attention was a gift. But now, without it, she feels invisible. It's like you're telling her, in a quiet, unspoken way, that she's no longer worth the time. This is where the wisdom of Stoicism comes in. As a Stoic man, you understand that your attention is a limited resource. You know it's something you must invest wisely, something that deserves to be directed toward people and pursuits that align with your values. But when someone no longer meets that standard, it's not about drama or explosive conflict. No, you don't rage and you don't complain. You don't need a grand speech or any theatrical gestures. You simply redirect your focus. This is the heart of practical Stoicism. You withdraw your attention, not as punishment, but as a natural consequence of choosing not to invest in something that no longer feeds your soul. There's no malice, no bitterness. It's just a quiet, deliberate decision to reclaim your energy for what truly matters. And then, the real weight of the situation sinks in. She'll realize something crucial, that attention, your attention, isn't something that can be taken for granted. It's not infinite. Once it's gone, it's difficult, if not impossible, to get it back. Rebuilding that trust, that respect, is a journey, one that requires effort, vulnerability, and time. It's not about reclaiming the simple moments you shared. It's about regaining the connection that made those moments so meaningful. The truth is, your attention wasn't just a nice gesture. It was a privilege, a rare privilege that she will only truly appreciate when it slips away. And that's when the realization hits attention is more precious than you think. Remember, this isn't just about relationships. It's about life. The Stoic rules teach us that we must guard our focus and invest it only where it matters. The paths of wisdom show us how to direct our energy and attention with intention. So, be mindful. Guard your attention. Once it's gone, getting it back is harder than you think. Choose wisely where you invest it, and never forget its power. You must understand this: your attention is not a given, but a gift. If you made it this far, you're beginning to understand the power of attention and how much it truly means. It's not just about showing up in someone's life. It's about the impact your presence has when you choose to invest your time and energy. Comment below: I understand the value of attention, and I choose to invest it wisely. Number 9. Freedom from her reactions. When you react in anger, you're still bound to her. Every word, every tone, every action pulls you in one direction or another. You think you're standing your ground, but in reality, you're letting her emotions steer your ship. You're not the captain. She is. Epictetus, the ancient Stoic philosopher, taught us that true freedom lies in how we respond to external events. When you react emotionally, you're giving her control over your peace. The moment you break free from this cycle, when you stop letting her moods determine yours, you reclaim something priceless: your freedom. Indifference isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's not about shutting down or withdrawing. It's about stepping back to see the bigger picture, not getting lost in the noise of the moment. When you choose to remain calm while she's trying to provoke you, the power dynamic shifts. No longer is she pulling your strings. You've cut the cord, and whether she acknowledges it or not, she feels this change. You become the mountain. Her anger, frustration, or manipulation no longer affects you. You're no longer reactive. You become deliberate. It's not just about earning her respect. It's about respecting yourself. Every time you keep your composure, you reinforce to yourself that you are in control. Control is power. Once you own it, it's hard for anyone to take it from you. This is not the kind of respect that stems from fear or intimidation. It's the respect of someone who governs his own world. Over time, she'll notice that her usual tactics no longer work. The buttons she used to press do nothing. The reactions she once expected are gone. She might test you again, hoping to provoke the old version of you. But when she finds nothing but calm conviction, she will have no choice but to adjust or risk losing you entirely. That's where the true power lies. This freedom doesn't depend on her changing. It depends on you making the decision to no longer let her moods control you. Once you decide, her storms, her drama, are just passing clouds. You, my friend, are the mountain that remains unmoved. Stoicism teaches us that we can master ourselves. Stoicism wins in life, and in doing so, we become the masters of our destiny. Number 10. The power she can't touch. Indifference is often misunderstood as coldness, a sign that you've stopped caring or feeling altogether. But in reality, it's not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. Yes, you still feel, you still care deeply about the things that matter. But you've come to realize that not everything is worth the mental space it once occupied. This choice, this decision to not let everything in, is where your true power lies. It's not a retreat born out of bitterness or resentment. It's a conscious act of self-preservation, a deliberate defense of your peace. You've chosen to protect your mind, your serenity, like a prized treasure, once, perhaps, Her words had the power to lift you up or tear you down. Her moods could influence yours, her approval something you unknowingly chased after. But that's changed. You've built a fortress around yourself, not one of fear, but one of clarity and strength. It's forged from discipline, self-respect, and a solid understanding of your own worth. No matter what she says or does, no matter how hard she pushes, she can't penetrate it. This is the foundation of an iron mind, grounded in Stoic principles, and it's exactly what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." The external forces, her criticism, her distance, her games, can no longer sway you. You are no longer like the wind-blown tree. Now you're the oak, steady and unmoving, unshaken by whatever may come. And here's the part that hits hardest. She knows she can no longer control you. She can't stir up a fight just to feel a connection, can't withhold affection to make you chase, can't offer approval to make you light up as though it were a gift. All the levers she once had to manipulate you no longer work because your sense of worth isn't in her hands anymore. This realization, the awareness that she no longer holds that power over you, is often harder for her to accept than an angry farewell. Anger can be dismissed as just a phase. Coldness can eventually be thawed with enough effort. But indifference, true, rooted indifference, grounded in self-control and self-respect, feels permanent. It's not that you've shut her out, it's that you no longer need her to let you in. You no longer depend on her for validation or approval. This is the power she can't touch. When you reach that point, when you've built that inner strength, you're not just free from her grip, you're free, period. That freedom, that sovereignty over your own mind, is the one thing she'll remember long after everything else fades away. Indifference isn't about being cold, it's about having intention. It's about choosing clarity over chaos, purpose over petty games. When you stop feeding the fire, when you refuse to dance to the old script, and let your calm presence do the talking, the balance shifts. She's forced to face the mirror of her own actions, while you become the man you were always meant to be. Steadier, quieter, harder to shake. This isn't ego-driven distance. It's self-respect in action. It's the Stoic move, protecting your inner citadel, governing your reactions, and letting your standards, not your fleeting feelings, set the tone of your life. As we close this video, I want to leave you with one simple promise. Reclaim a piece of your attention tonight. Invest it into your training, your craft, your mission, something that moves you forward. When a test comes your way, meet it with steady eyes and calm breaths. Remember, not every spark deserves to be fueled, and not every word deserves a reply. Calm is the boundary that protects your peace and shows the world you're not here to be controlled. You're here to be consistent, to stay true to your purpose, no matter the distractions. If this resonated with you, please give the video a like and share your thoughts in the comments. And when you're ready to dive even deeper into silence, boundaries, and purpose, check out the recommended videos on screen. They'll help you keep sharpening that mindset. Stay calm, stay consistent, and take care of yourself.